Boom, boom. Oh my goodness.
We're headed up the Queen Stairs right now. Headed up the Queen Stairs. Hold on there. What is that?
Stop right there for a second.
Why?
Then if you don't stop, then you can walk right past some of the main features of the canyon.
Oh, are you trying to give us something? What is this in here?
Oh, Lord.
What is this in here?
This was there. Who asked that question?
We did. This one right
I'm
here.
glad you asked that question. You want me to tell you what this was?
What was this?
This was a death camp for slaves. What happened here helped to lead to the abolishment of slavery in the Bahamas. Because of what happened here, there's the nation of Jamaica, Trinidad, the Bahamas, St. Vincent, the Grenadines. What happened here was one of the most barbaric acts of slavery ever. Almost 6,000 slaves were forced to kill themselves here by working themselves to death. Come take a look at the wall over here. Oh, sorry, let me tell you, bye to the last group. Bye, guys! Like we say in the South, y'all come back down to here. But they, I mean, we don't really see people as in being black, white, Asian, Latin, Chinese, Hispanic, you know. But, you know, slavery is a touchy subject with some people, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the side of the wall right here, wow. Those marks, they were made by chisels. This canyon was one solid mass of rock before slaves were brought here and given chisels that small and forced to hand carve it out. No pickaxe, no shovels, no rock hatchets or rock saws, and they worked nothing less than 14 hours a day. 5,400 men were literally worked to death here. Good afternoon, sorry, forgive my lack of decorum. My name is Antonio. I am the custodian for the canyon. My friends call me Tony, but because I'm a Bahamian and I always look fine, girls just call me all the time. From wall to wall. By the way, guys, we do not give guided tours, okay? If you're walking, drop-offs, we just tell you what this is, how to get to the other side, how to get back, and then you guys are on your own, all right? From wall to wall, top to bottom. From the top of that staircase, going all the way back to that small port in Nassau Harbor. This entire canyon was one solid mass of rock. In the year 1787, the British sent a man here by the name of John Murray. He had once been the governor of the colonies of Virginia. Prior to the American War of Independence, he had publicly tortured and executed a lot of slaves in America. He requested more men and more resources from the British. They told him no. Recruit the slaves in America to fight against the Americans. Offer them land, offer them freedom. John Murray believed if he did that and the Americans found out, they would know how depleted his forces were, because they would see his actions as actions of desperation if he was trying to recruit slaves. He believed this would cause the Americans to attack sooner than later. But then the British said, well, if you don't want to do it, we say you're on your own. He believed because he was from Scotland that the British didn't care where he lived or died and was simply turning their backs on him. So the governor decided if the Americans attacked, which thing they will, they would be a formidable force. But if the slaves were fighting for them, they would probably be undefeatable. Since the Americans were fighting for their lands, their patriotism, the slaves probably could be swayed to stay out of it. So the governor decided to sway the slaves, but his methods of persuasion was intimidation. He had slaves falsely accused of plotting with the Americans, conspiring against the British. They were rounded up, publicly tortured, and executed. During the American War, slaves in Virginia formed the militia and attacked the governor's mansion in Williamsburg. He escaped. He wanted revenge on the British, who he believed had dissed him, on slaves who he believed should never have had the gall to attack him. The British were first. He convinced them by starting a rumor France was plotting to attack the colony. So they sent him here to build forts to protect the harbor from the French. Then in 1796, after taking money from the British for years to defend this colony from an attack he knew was never going to come, he stood on top of this mass of rock. Let me show you where he was standing. They said it was the highest point, which should be down here. 110 feet high. He lined himself up with the small port in the harbor. That's where Governor Dunmore kept his ships. He said if the French attacked, he needs a way to escape the island. The only way to leave was by ship. Excuse me. Hey! Come down there, son. I ain't going by the hospital today.
No, that's right. Not today.
You know if you fall down there where you can end up?
Yes. Hurt.
Them your kids? Them your babies? Them your babies?
No, no.
I said, how's it going?
No, those are my kids.
Well, let me tell you why I can say hell to the no. Because my babies are beautiful.
Yeah.
These my babies.
All right, that's his baby.
Yes, they are.
But they ain't his.
They ain't mine.
So you're saying that slaves carved this
I'll prove
out
it here.
of...
Stop right here. Governor Dunmore, when he came here, after taking money from the British for years, he stood up there at the highest point of this mass of rock. He was lining himself up at a small port in the harbor where he kept his ship. He said he needed rocks to build another fort, a way to get from the fort back to his ship without being seen. Slaves were brought here to do the excavation. Look, ladies, and the governor ordered that they be given no pickaxes, no shovels, no rock hatchets or saws, and that they work nothing less than 14 hours a day, using nothing more than a chisel and a hammer. As you can see, the chisels are about 1 inch or 2 broad on this side. A lot of erosion. The rock was very soft here. But then if you come over here and look at this side of the wall, you can see the chisel marks are a lot smaller because this side was more coral. It would have been much more difficult. Now imagine, if you will, being a slave back then, having a chisel this big, the cut out of solid coral rock, a canyon this big, having to get the walls this straight, all the way back to the harbor, working in 95-degree heat with little food and water. I told you these men would literally work to death. Why is it called the Queen's Staircase then? How does any of this concern the Queen? Missionaries and everyone else lobbied the British to free the remaining slaves. In 1837, a new monarch became Queen of England, and I need you all to hear this. 1 year later, Monday, August 1st, 1838, Queen Victoria ended slavery here. Slavery had been abolished by the British in 1834, but the people here said the slaves would not be able to adapt as free men. They would have to be integrated into society through a period of time as free men. It was called the Apprentice Act. Queen Victoria ended it when she signed into law the Emancipation Act, Monday, August 1st, 1838. She granted each one of those freed slaves, male and female, a piece of land for farming. They became owners of the land, made up 90% of the population, and the islands had no indigenous inhabitants. So those slaves here became the people of the Bahamas, the Bahamians. Yes. We Bahamians today are their descendants. Then after reigning 64 years, Her Majesty actually never made it to the island. So when she died in 1901, our ancestors were not only saddened by her death, they were disappointed. They never had an opportunity to thank her. And this is the grand finale, ladies. So they came back to the canyon. They brought with them the chisels and the hammer. Tools sworn never to be touched or used again. Tools their fathers had died using. Remembering their fathers as slaves were forced to carve the canyon from top to bottom, they as free men carved that staircase from bottom to top. Symbolically, it's a reminder that our ancestors came from the depths of slavery, step by step of the freedom. Each step commemorates each year Victoria reigned as queen. Then, in her honor and to preserve her memory, they named the canyon the Queen's Staircase. And that is when it happened. The Lord smiled and blessed this canyon, made it a magical place. Because if you come here any day of the year, any time of day, from anywhere in the world, you'll see something here that's magical. I always see it. It's very special, very precious and beautiful. For at the Queen's Staircase, we believe, as is proven today, you're always guaranteed to see more beautiful, lovely queens.
Oh.
Ladies, welcome, Your Majesties.
Oh.
Oh, honey, Mama said if you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you look that good. Girl, you just thank God.
Thank you.
Coming up on your right, that picture frame is a picture frame. Just ain't got no picture in it. But there's a hole in the wall just after it. And that whole area there is where they filled in the underground tunnel that would have led from the fort to the bottom of the canyon. Those tunnels are also believed to be catacombs where slaves were buried. The governor was like, out of sight, out of mind. All of the steps are covered with bricks to preserve them from decay. You ladies and gentlemen are going to climb to the top of the staircase. That's what I like about being me. I get to do the talking, you get to do the walking. When you get to the top of the staircase, you guys walked here, right?
Yes.
Okay, so listen carefully. Let me your map, please, so I can show you how to get back.
Okay. We're going to take a taxi back.
You're going to take a taxi back?
Yeah.
You have a taxi?
We want a taxi. We got time.
Okay, go yeah. No man.
We're
I
going-
got a car
we're going
right
to
out
the
there,
top.
honey.
We're
I
going
got
to the
two-
top.
I got 2 babies at home. I'll taxi you back. Now, ladies, when you get to the top of the staircase, you're going to be midway on a hill. At the top of the hill, there's a tall white building, the water tower, built to supply the city with water in 1928. It is closed for renovation. You guys are going over to this building here, Fort Finn Castle. 221 years old, built in 1793 by Governor Dunmore. Never saw any action from 1816 until used as a lighthouse or signal tower. Now, if you have any questions you would like to ask, this has been a live recording. Before I let my guests leave, I always invite them. If you would like a picture, since you all came here together as a group, with all of you together, or however you like, I would take the picture or
Oh,
pictures
that's
for
very
you.
nice.
Fortunately, I'm a Bahamian. That guarantees I'll take the picture, not the camera. Just the picture. We are courtesy guides. Could you hold that for me, please? Because there's no entrance